Hi, my name is Dave. Today we're going to have a look at a Nippon Kogaku 50mm telescope from probably from about 1956 or 57, something in that time frame. You will seldom find a heavier 50mm telescope. I think I'll set it up next to another 50mm telescope just to give you a sense of this thing is beefy. This thing is real heavy. It's got a lot of interesting, unique features, quite comparable to a Nippon Kogaku 65mm. I have another video about one of those scopes. So you may want to have a look at that as well. Let's take some close-ups. Okay, let's have a close-up look at this nifty little Nippon Kogaku. Here is a charming and very strange little mount. This is a lever. If you move that lever, you actually change the tension up in here on a ball joint, and that allows you to change the latitude. And of course you can move it 360 degrees around in azimuth as well. So that's very strange and unique. This is the very unusual little reflex kind of a prism. They call it a diagonal finder. Very unusual. To adjust the latitude on this friction clutch engages and disengages. You've only got a certain amount of, that's your range. That's the range you have for possible latitudes, right there to right there. I guess actually if you line it up over here, you can go further south. It's tricky though, isn't it? And it's about as far as you can go. It was kind of set up with certain limitations. It works quite nicely though. Would never work on a real heavy mount, but it works pretty okay with this. It's a small mount like this. And of course there are no slow motion controls with this, so you just push it. The friction seems to be just about right though. You just tension it down just a little bit. I've got a Zeiss mount that is similar to this. If you just set the right tension, you find that you can push to whatever you need to do. Just give it a little shove. You know, if you're off over here, something like this. And maybe, of course, you want to balance it properly. So once it's balanced, a little heavy there. Let's do it like that way. Now all you have to do is just give it a little shove once in a while. It's really pretty easy to track something. Not bad. At least you have the equatorial part of the motion taken care of. Okay, now I have the Nippon Kogaku set up next to a Unitron Model 750, which in terms of the optics is approximately the same thing. 50mm aperture, about 700mm focal length. So it's nominally about the same. This has got 50mm more focal length, no big deal really. Now let's compare them. First of all, I think it's obvious that this is a very beefy, robust mount. You can't, well, maybe you can sense That's a lot heavier than this. It might actually be more friendly to use this one. These are nice little telescopes, the Unitrons. But this is on a whole different scale. They took a 50 millimeter telescope seriously here. This one is a very effective little scope. This has an Altaz mount, so a lot of the weight may be in the counterweight. It's also in the mount though. But here you have a little Altaz mount, which is very nice. A little bit trickier to operate because it's got two motions. This one just has one. If you're tracking and you can push it, that's nice. It's simple, nice and friendly. These are quite good. The Altaz is quite good on the Unitron. Very, very nice telescope. This one has a finder. This one doesn't have a finder. Is that a tremendous setback? Probably not. Probably not in a 50 millimeter scope. This has this little peep scope deal. It's got a little gun sight here and gun sight there, and the peep scope looks through that. Probably going to work just fine for you. So I don't know. It's just apples to oranges here. This is a way beefier kind of a telescope. This is comparable. These were heavily influenced by Zeiss. Big, beefy, heavy, everything is built like a tank kind of a philosophy. And this son of a gun is really, really massive for a 50 millimeter telescope. Okay, let me show you how to set this up for solar observation. Okay, so now I'm set up for solar observation. Probably actually be set up more like that because the sun would be somewhere over in there maybe. So that's how it would look for solar observation. Let me show you the packing scheme for this telescope. This is a very robust box. One of the interesting things is they put the counterweight. This is the counterweight for the equatorial mount. They put that inside here. I'm not sure generally philosophically whether I like that idea, but seems to work okay. It's well packed in there. These things are very, very strong. We've got this is an erect image, 40 millimeter erect image, kind of an eyepiece with a nice big beefy Poro prism. Here's the OTA. The OTA has, as far as storing it, they store it with the solar screen mounted to it, the shaft for the solar screen mounted to it. And it kind of just sits in there like so. A couple of eyepieces and a solar filter. Here's of course the regular star diagonal. Here are the solar screens. Talk about overkill for a 50 millimeter telescope. That is a lot of overkill. Let me show you something interesting a previous owner did with this. This is not original, but it's actually a pretty clever idea. He added a couple of aluminum sleeves so that the legs can be separated for more convenient packing or storage. And these things just slip right on there. Pretty nifty. I would not have probably chosen to do that, and it's not original anymore, but it works just fine, and it actually doesn't look that bad. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at this completely charming Nippon Kogaku 50 millimeter telescope from the 1950s. Thank you for watching.